Sure. My name's Susan Chana Lask, and that's S-U-S-A-N, and then second name C-H-A-N-A, and third L-A-S-K. There's no hyphen. Don't call me Susan Lask because that lady's going bankrupt upstate. Uh, okay, so my name's Susan Chana, C-H-A-N-A, Lask, no hyphen, and I'm a New York divorce high-profile attorney. Got it. Will do. Okay. Katie Holmes filed divorce papers in New York because New York, number one, is a state that's very private. Number two, I believe that they had a prenuptial, and a prenuptial agreement before they got married would dictate the venue of where they would get divorced. And I would believe that they both would want privacy, and New York State is the best state to get that privacy. Privacy is very important in this divorce case. Number one, there's a lot of assets involved. Tom Cruise, as we all know, is the number one box office actor, and they say that he has about 250 or a quarter of a billion dollars net worth, and they have the child as well. So privacy is a big factor for these two people. They're both celebrities, and again, Tom's just the number one celebrity out there with a lot of money. I don't think Katie could use Scientology as a defense or any kind of way against Tom in this divorce. Scientology, when she got into the marriage, was a known fact that Tom believed in it. She sort of got into it, and I don't think Scientology will have anything to do with their divorce. I think that custody in this case will be shared. I doubt there's any allegation of any kind of abuse by any of the two parents involved, Tom and Katie. And it's not going to be about, of course, Katie would like to have full custody, is what we're hearing she's asking for. But in New York, as long as there's no abuse or any threat to the child, they're usually going to have a shared custody agreement. I think the kind of prenup that Tom and Katie had or have in place right now would be number one, dictating the venue for privacy, which would be New York, and number two, something that I call a laddered agreement, which basically every year that she stayed with him, because he is the moneymaker in this partnership, she would get a certain amount of money, and possibly even they might have agreed to a 5-year, marriage that she couldn't file. Either party could file for divorce until after 5 years. I think that the prenuptial most likely locked Katie and Tom into a marriage for a certain amount of time, and it probably was 5 years. And here we are at the 5th year, and Katie filed for the divorce. There's a lot of money at stake in this divorce. They say that Tom Cruise is worth a quarter of a billion dollars, and he makes about $75 million a year. This is more money that this celebrity couple has, or just in Tom's name alone, that he draws in, that no one in the world, the most people can imagine having or dream of. This is a very high net worth divorce with a lot at stake. The assets that this couple has is what we know are homes throughout the United States and here in New York, of course. Um, but the main draw is the money that Tom has been making on and on. He is the moneymaker, and we're talking again probably a quarter of a billion dollars net worth of Tom Cruise. But again, remember, I believe that there's a prenup in place. These two are two brilliant actors, and they were savvy I'm sure, enough before they got divorced, especially Tom, to put a prenup in place that's going to limit and dictate the amount that Katie will get. I doubt you're ever going to see a divorce trial in this case. That's why they're in New York, to keep it private. And I believe that there's a prenup protecting both of them for privacy reasons. There's no way that they would go for a trial, custody or otherwise. I think it's already all worked out by the prenup agreement. And that's why they have the attorneys to work this out. I was not surprised at all when Katie filed for divorce. This is something that is not just done overnight. She obviously planned it. And me being an entertainment junkie myself, I was watching the news, and I was watching 6 months ago, 2 months ago, when Tom was on set and they were saying he was a little too close to his co-star, female co-star. They weren't together that much. I knew this was coming, and here it is. Katie would file her papers while Tom was out of the country because it's an element of surprise, number one, and number two, it appears that she needs to have some kind of control. Apparently, she's complaining that Tom was a little overbearing and too much controlling. So while he's out of the country, she filed it, and that was definitely a strategy of surprise where Tom would have to get his army of attorneys together. She already had her army of attorneys, I'm sure, 6 months before this was filed, if not even longer. I think Katie planned this divorce long in advance, and I would guess at least 6 months before she actually filed it. Yes. Divorce like this, with the kind of assets that the celebrity couple has, and the child involved, and the other kind of issues involved with religion and things like that, this is a divorce that you definitely plan at least 6 months in advance. I've handled many high-profile cases, and my strategy would be exactly what Katie did. I would, in any divorce case, high-profile, high net worth or not, what you want to do is plan your exit strategy way in advance before you file that divorce. And what you do is you gather up all of your property, you get your financial advisors in place, and you get your attorneys in place. And what Katie did is exactly what I'd advise anybody else to do in any divorce, especially in this high net worth divorce as well. They are keeping quiet, and you will never hear a peep from these two. You're going to hear very short blurbs from both of their attorneys, which is the right thing to do. The best thing in this kind of divorce is keep it private and just exit as graciously as they both can.